Record. There we go. Oh, should I go with a cool background? I don't know. Probably not. I guess I'm already committed to flannel shirt. And if
Welcome
anyone's
to.
wondering, I have like 8 of these. I
Oh, you're
buy,
like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. You just have a uniform. You can just wear it 7 days a week.
yeah, it's the whole thing where you don't have to think about what you're putting on. Also, when my shirts start getting old and funky, I know, oh, all the orange shirts are the ones I need to replace. And then I'll buy a bunch of gray ones. I
Mm.
do the same thing with socks. Is that weird?
I
Yeah,
don't
I got
know. I
like
mean,
a bag of
I
tube socks recently.
it's like I understand not committing the whatever you call it, mental energy to switching up your outfit a whole bunch.
Right. Well,
But
hmm.
I realized recently that like everyone I've ever been really attracted to will switch up their outfit a whole lot. So I'm sort of recently more trying to do that.
Well, I'm
Match.
talking the stuff they wouldn't see, like, this shirt
Yeah.
or my socks. So when
They
the
might see
black
your
socks
socks.
start getting holes, I know all of them are going to get holes. So now it's purple sock time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have I now will just wear mismatched socks,
I also have to
unfortunately.
go around wearing snow boots for 3 months straight, so I'll double sock, which means it tends to be tough on the socks, so you get more
That
holes that
sounds
way.
that sounds frustrating.
Well, maybe you just don't
Double
like
socks.
snow.
I don't
Yeah.
like having to wear a lot of clothes.
Okay.
That's the thing I don't like about like I don't mind cold weather. The thing I don't like about cold weather is that eventually you're inside and then you have to like take clothes off. And I don't like that.
Well, you can live in Japan where the houses aren't insulated, and if you don't turn a heater on, it's just as cold inside as it is outside.
That might be okay. I
Is
don't
it?
know.
Is it really?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I really want it like warm in my bedroom while I'm going to sleep, and you're supposed to not
Mm-mm.
do
I definitely don't do that, except in summer.
that. Yeah. I mean, I like
Oh,
jungly room.
Mm.
Like the turn on the vaporizer and make it really humid and warm,
Mm.
like the womb and dark.
Oh yeah, I'll go under I'll make myself a turtle for sure, but
Yeah.
mm.
Okay. Well, speaking of turtles, let's get into this thing.
Okay, 5 seconds in intro, I guess.
Okay. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about Space 1999,
Except this week when it's not.
etc.
Except this week when it's
I
not.
was gonna do it. Yeah, I was gonna do something, but now, except this week when it's not. I'm your host, Mark. These are my co-hosts, Matt and Brian. Say hello in that order.
Hello.
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 I did
Did we
think
do it
about it
right?
for a second.
Today we're going over the day after tomorrow, colon into infinity.
Which
Into
is definitely
infinity.
not the day after tomorrow, the movie we all know and love.
I'm pretty sure I don't love it and I've never seen it.
How could they have named this that movie after this amazing after school special from 1975?
Well, it's kind of like glass half full, glass half empty sort of thing. Oh, and well, maybe this is in Mark's trivia, but it's not just that. It's the actual name that they put to this, which is wild. Because it's not just an after school special, right? It's maybe
Special
someone
treat.
special treat. There we go. Okay, I was sitting
Special
here
treat. That's
trying to
right.
look through my YouTube history.
Unless you're in the UK, in which case it's a BBC special.
Oh no, I want a special treat for sure. Treat. I'm a treat boy. Yeah. Okay.
So this might be totally blasphemous, but I think this is probably going to be my favorite thing that we talk about on this podcast. I actually like this better than any episode of Space 1999 so far.
Well, I'll tell you, when it first aired, I was blown away by it, as a youngster. And I thought, oh, it's cool. And it's got Alan Carter, and it's got, you know,
That big guy that was
spaceship.
turned
Yeah,
into a
that big
weird
guy who was in that
corpse.
one episode.
No, it
Yes, this is our third
rules.
helping of Brian Blessed. Aren't we great?
Aren't we blessed?
Aren't we
I
happy?
mean, it just lets people go and explore things. However, almost immediately it just says it's like Nick Tate turns to the camera and says, "Screw Einstein," and then they just break a bunch of laws, and yeah, it's great. I loved it. I loved it very much.
So they teach you about special relativity and then just pull the rug out from you for fun.
Well, hey, let's get into it. Trivia. In the spring of 1975, after season 1 of Space 1999 had been completed, NBC's agent George Heinemann contacted Jerry Anderson with an idea for a science TV series comprised of 7 one-hour episodes to teach children science, such as the theory of relativity, or as concepts of science. These are spotty notes. Since Space 1999 had not been renewed and the prospects seemed grim, Anderson and Johnny Byrne conceived a first episode for the series called Into Infinity, with the series provisionally titled The Day After Tomorrow. Although notably, Anderson and Byrne both basically admitted that they didn't understand Einstein's theory of relativity. So basically, the guy from NBC has hired these guys to teach something that they do not know. In the trivia for the next episode of this podcast, I will imply that Fred Freiberger had something to do with this production, but it was bad info that I got from the internet, and he actually did not. I apologize in advance for the error using time dilation. Principal photography took about 10 days, but effects took about 6 weeks to complete. Martin Bauer returned from Space 1999 to build ships, even though he thought he was building them for Space 1999. But a lot of the other series crew returned as well. The composer for Space 1999 season 1, Barry Gray, had other commitments and was replaced by Derek Wadsworth and Steve Coe, who would soon be replacing Gray full-time for season 2 of the series, not Day After Tomorrow. Anderson was unable to secure funding for future episodes, so only one episode was produced. It was aired on NBC as part of its Special Treat series, which was sort of like after-school specials, but for teenagers. Special Treat ran from 1975 to 1986 and had 60 episodes in total. Other episodes include Reading, Writing, and Reefer, Hot Hero Sandwich, and My Father, the Circus King. The special aired on BBC the following year. This was directed by Charles Crichton and written by Johnny Byrne along with Jerry Anderson. You last saw this trio's work together way back in Matter of Life and Death, but don't worry, they'll be back for the season opener, The Metamorph, even though I don't know how much Anderson had to do with that. You'll see a lot of these sets and props there as well. Brian Blessed stars as Dr. Tom Bowen. Of course, you know him from his role of Dr. Cabot Roland in the episode Death's Other Dominion, and you'll see him again in The Metamorph. Nick Tate stars as Captain Harry Masters. Of course, you know him as Alan Carter. He too will be back for The Metamorph, unlike many of the other Space 1999 regulars. Joanna Dunham plays Anna Bowen, born 1936 in Luton, Bedfordshire, England. She was the daughter of an architect and then began a stage career, which turned into TV and film and acting career, and then later a painting career. You can catch her in Knight Errant Limited, Dangerous Afternoon, and Danger Man. She passed away in 2014 at the age of 78. Catherine Levy plays Jane Masters. If you're having trouble keeping track, she is Nick Tate's daughter in the series. I was having trouble with the family structure in this. She was born in 1961, and this was only her third role. You could also see her in Lords of Discipline, Love in a Cold Climate, and The Devil's Crown. She retired from on-screen acting in the 1990s to focus on producing. As David Bowen, that would be Brian Blessed's son, we have Martin Lev. He was born in 1959, and this was only one of only 2 roles he ever took, the other being in Bugsy Malone as Dandy Dan the following year. He left acting to work as a designer, but unfortunately he developed myalgic encephalomyelitis, and although he founded a charity to benefit others with a condition called Action for ME, that's much easier to pronounce, which is still operating today. He died from suicide in 1992 at the age of 32. Still better than being Scott Baio, who played Bugsy Malone, in my opinion. Finally, as Jim Forbes, we have Don Fellows. He was born in 1922 in Salt Lake City, Utah, and initially had a career-threatening stutter that he overcame with the help of a speech therapist recommended by Henry Fonda. You can see him in Superman's 2 and 4, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Undercover Lover, Tales of the Unexpected, And also as the newscaster on screen at the end of Space 1999 pilot Breakaway, telling us all how bad Earth is now. He passed away in 2007 at the age of 84. So big screen on the screen guy. Anyway, that's the trivia.
That's his trivia. Okay.
You know how you tell which is which in the families? Their tunics are slightly different. The one is like blue and one is brown, I think. So the Bowens are
Man.
brown, and I think the Masters are blue, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh,
You're probably right. I'm so bad at noticing outfits.
I didn't pay attention to that and just decided for my own amusement to assume that the couple was actually Brian
A
Bussin
throuple?
and Nick Tate.
Oh, I sort of thought it was a throuple, which made perfect sense. It
That would
worked.
be cool too. It will be in 5 years, won't
I
it?
suppose so. The day after tomorrow.
Yeah, it
Everyone's a
won't take
throuple
long at
now.
all. That's why it has that title. Yes.
Yep. I mean, who knows what year it is at the end of this pilot? It could be like 30,000. Who knows?
We got a story rolling. Story time.
Yeah, just as soon as I remember where I saved it. There it is. Okay, this thing on. Here we go.
Yep.
It's the future, and things on Earth are looking pretty dismal with pollution and resource depletion threatening life as we know it. Fortunately, mankind has built the first interstellar spacecraft, the Altares, which can visit other solar systems and find new resources and worlds for humanity to exploit, hopefully more wisely this time. The ship is commanded and piloted by Captain Harry Masters, with doctors Tom and Anna Bowen on board as navigator and medical officer. They also along are Jane Masters and David Bowen, the tween-aged children of the adult crew. They are there due to the fact that Einstein's predicted time dilation effects state that if left behind, the kids would be far older than their parents when they returned. The ship is launched towards Alpha Centauri, and the photon drive delivers the massive skin-rippling acceleration that get them there at 96% of the speed of light in just a few hours, though 4 years have now passed on Earth, just as Einstein predicted. After dodging some meteors, gathering some stardust, sliding some slide rules, and launching some satellites, the crew get a time-delayed pep talk from Earth, and after which they decide to continue to press outward and explore more of space. While threading their way through a star cluster, the photon drive goes wild, sending the Altares into an ever-accelerating plunge into interstellar space. The crew are knocked out, only to recover when the failsafe shuts the drive down. Now they are astray in space, or misplaced in space, or something like that. Harry Masters must now get to work on the radioactive photon drive room to repair the burnt-out drive while the ship is drifting toward a red supergiant. But the Bowens do some science and conclude that the star is likely to go supernova soon, and Harry only has a limited amount of time he can work on the drive before the heat fries him inside of his hazmat suit. They manage to blast out just as the star goes boom. Ship, out of danger? Yep, and Jane gets to hug her dad again. With David getting the new fix on their homing beacon to Earth, things are looking up, even though now 15 years have passed back home, just as Einstein predicted, probably. But why are they drifting off course? Their bendy laser cannon beam shows why. It's a black sun. I mean, a black hole. And now it's time for peak existential dread because there's no way to avoid it. But Anna Bowen comes up with one more piece of Einsteinian hope. If the black hole is rotating, they may end up transported into a new universe. If not, well, it's spaghettification for our heroes. As they fall into the black hole, things go full Stanley Kubrick as the crew run backward a lot with lights, colors, filters, pull focusing, and eerie music as the Altares appears to split and reform only to come out the other side with no ill effects. Everyone marvels at the new universe before them with a nice big planet lying dead ahead. Time to get exploring. What will they find? Tune in next week or not. And remember, E equals MC squared.
No, that terrifies Mark.
Yeah, I was saying how when I was a kid, I remember seeing the Twilight Zone and being afraid of E equals MC squared because I didn't know what it was. And it was just a thing that was floating around. It's like,
That's right. I
God.
just heard you talking about that.
I
Letters
laughed
and
so
numbers.
hard when the end of the episode just freeze framed. It was like E equals MC squared.
Yeah. Trauma for Mark.
Apparently,
It was just
no,
kind of inexplicable. Yeah.
when this aired, apparently every commercial break it said E equals MC squared when it was cut to commercial break, which is funny too.
They had to insert it for some Einstein reason because Einstein, everything's Einstein. Have you heard of Albert Einstein?
If you say it enough times, then people know you're an authority on it. So then they don't question why it basically they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't care what the speed limit is. We're gonna go past the speed of light because
Star Trek.
what happened? Yeah, because something was on fire. Oh, it was a meteor shower first. That was it.
To
I
heck
was
with the
like,
theory. Strap in.
there's one meteor shower, and then you break the laws of physics and end up lost completely. It's so funny. I don't know.
Well, that's the first flight out, right? So they don't really
Yeah.
know how there's no manual for these, no protocol for those situations.
I
Now,
mean, is this more wacky than the breakaway like occurrence? Not
this is
really.
more sensible,
It's
really.
really
It
kind of
involves a
less.
ship with a
Yeah.
drive, so yeah, it actually is supposed to fly, unlike the
Yeah.
moon.
We've
Yeah.
been over that. One of the biggest bugaboos on Space 1999 is you have to accept the breakaway situation
Well, that's
for
the
the whole show
easy
to work.
that's the easy thing to accept in Space 1999. The hard thing is like how is the moon, stopping occasionally or going way past this. I don't know.
Right.
How much it's like the end of the universe or something. It's going like a billion times the speed of light sometimes. Or I guess it goes through warps.
Now,
Have you guys
the
seen The
thing
Expanse at all?
that's something
Yeah.
that's like I should have, but I haven't, sort of thing, right?
I think the solution they have in The Expanse is kind of the way, if you rebooted Space 99, it would have to be something like that, which basically involves space warps. But the moon keeps stumbling across a space warp every other week, apparently. So that's just how they get from star system to
Well,
star
yeah,
system.
I mean, we've already
Yeah.
done the Metamorph on the podcast, and that's not a spoiler. Say she's like, well, we've been through another space warp, you know.
I mean, Arcadians just left them a bunch of space warps.
Yeah, the gift of space warps. So the thing that
Mhm.
I have trouble getting past in this, and you can tell me if this just makes me an a-hole. I understand you send the kids along, the 12-year-olds. It seems that you don't give them absolutely vital mission responsibilities. Like teach them science stuff, let them do the science stuff, work in the labs. But I for Earth's last hope spaceship, a 12-year-old as co-pilot seems a little questionable. Am
I'm
I
gonna
incorrect?
push back on that, and the newer, more recent Lost in Space series does basically they go out of their way to explain that the kids have to go through insanely rigorous schooling and learn like everything
Well, I'm sure
so
these
they
kids did
have
too.
jobs. So I mean it works in that series. The stuff in that series that doesn't work is more like the power of love makes robots help you. But no, but that I think that works if you have smart enough kids.
Yeah, I'm
So this
thinking of
doesn't.
humanity's last hope mission. You might not want to put a kid on the co-pilot seat, is all I'm
It
saying.
doesn't
It's
even
a
seem
little
like
weird.
it doesn't. Am I wrong? It doesn't feel like humanity's last hope. It feels like they're just sending some people just to do a thing just as a lark. They're like, you can come back if you want, or you could go farther away.
That
Don't
was the
they
weird
kind
thing
of
about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
decide when you get there what you want to do.
If
It's up to you.
if
It's
you
like,
yeah,
what?
that's the thing. Think about that. If they come back, it's gonna take 30 years from when they start, right? So it's like imagine, you dedicate all these resources to this, and you're like, well, you guys could come back in 30 years, or you could come back in, I don't know, 60, 100, 200, 300, 400 years. It's your call.
well,
It feels like,
psychologically, no one's been in that position before. So it seems like you might give them a little bit of a choice
yeah.
because just no one has, no one can really conceive of being there, like, psychologically. I mean, you could like try and like think, oh, I'd be out there, blah blah, but
I mean, you could kind of compare it to Voyager, where they could be headed straight back to the Alpha Quadrant, but they're just like, let's stop everywhere we go by. Let's stop everywhere. And I think
I
that's
mean,
even
the
kind of
Japanese
called
moon
out
probe
a couple
again, it
times.
fell on its butt, and then it ended up
Uh,
working like much longer than it was supposed to. So, you never know.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, it's maybe in the future pollution has sent the planet to hell, but
did they not have a line about ecological destruction in this
they
episode?
did.
Okay.
Hmm. Pollution.
That's where I'm pushing on. Yes, they did not say this is the Earth's last hope or anything. It could be a
No.
lark, but I was getting that, interstellar feeling where Earth's about to bite the dust and they're sending out a ship.
Well, things were getting bad. They had pollution and resource depletion,
Hmm.
which in my mind, it always seems like, oh, you haven't found enough oil to drill. Though in the future, you'd think you'd have something other than oil to power your civilization with. So I don't know. It's
Here's a
left pretty
very
vague.
Yeah. Here's a very important question: is Altares a probe?
Did they call it a probe?
I don't think
I
Everything's
don't.
a
so.
I don't
probe
think
in
they
the
call it. I don't think they do call it a probe in here. But do we have to call it a probe because of its pedigree?
Oh, well, when did it take place too? I mean, did it place in the 80s, in the 90s? The moon's still there, so if you wanted to set this in the Space 1999 universe, you could say it took place in 1998.
See, I
Yeah.
would I think this fits squarely into the Silent Running universe, you know? Like
Yeah,
that
it's
could
more
be
like,
happening concurrently to this, like easily.
that's true. That
Well,
would work.
everybody seems super chill about the mission, so maybe there are 100 of these happening because we don't really know that
Maybe
Space
they're on
Station Delta, Epsilon, Gamma,
what
because they couldn't
secret
Zeta.
afford to show you even they couldn't afford to show you more than like the one guy on the screen and the dog who will be dead soon. That's like the only thing in the budget.
they
So
spent
it's
money
like,
on models.
yes, yes, of
Um,
course. No, I'm not complaining about the. I don't want to complain about how it looks. It looks great,
no, it looks great.
but world building there is not.
I
Yeah,
thought it
maybe
looked not as good as first season Space 90. It looked a little on the cheap, you know. Obviously, well,
Yeah.
the cockpit of the Altaris looks exactly like the cockpit of the Ultra Probe and and Voyager 1 for that matter. They obviously recycled a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. And I saw some production photos on the DVD where when they were shooting some of the sets, I think don't even have, well, I don't know, maybe it's just the way they're doing those particular shots, but the set pieces only came down to like 2 feet above the ground, and it was open floor underneath that. So, but I know that the sets go all the way to the floor in other places because you see them in the long shots. But it's like it gave me the impression, like, yeah, this was kind of done in, what did they say, 10 days or something? They shot this.
Yeah.
So
they
Well,
didn't have a full season order like I guess they did when they did
no.
the first season of Space. So, this
Like
is
maybe Lou Grade said no when the Italians said no, and there just wasn't anybody else.
just reuse what you got.
Maybe Jerry Anderson was just reeling from his divorce and just was afraid to ask anybody for money.
That could be the case. Let's see. I had an interesting note, and I've forgotten what it was. That's too bad.
Maybe Lou Grade was like, "Oh, Sylvia is not with you anymore. Oh man, I don't have any money right now. Sorry."
Maybe catch me next Thursday, or don't. Actually, don't catch me next Thursday.
yeah, you remind me of an Easter egg in the book, which I might want to talk about in a second. In this novelization that was written not that long ago, like 6 years ago, I think. Was it 2017? 7 years ago. Little Easter eggs like the name of Harry Master's wife, was deceased wife, late wife, was named Sylvia. And I thought that had to be not a coincidence. But there are all sorts
Yeah.
of little Easter eggs like that in this book because it was written by a Space 1999 fan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the chillness of the crew. I mean, as in chilliness and just kind of flatness of, they don't get crazy over stuff, right? So I was like also
No.
writing in there's a bit of maybe they're giving the astronauts those drugs from THC 1138 or something. Did I get the
I
number
mean,
right?
Anna almost gets flattened because she's like not fastened in when they start going, I guess, past the speed of light.
That
Like she
happened on
just
a
seems.
plane like yesterday. Did you read that article? It was like in
No,
New Zealand, and it was like the seatbelt sign wasn't on at the time, and there's a sudden extreme drop, and people hit
Oh
the
yeah,
ceiling.
yeah.
Whoa.
Was that a Boeing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that sounds
Great.
like a
Did you
insane
hear
air
that?
pocket, but yeah.
Did you hear about the Boeing whistleblower who, quote unquote, committed suicide?
I was just reading that story.
2 shots in the back, worst case of
They're
suicide
gonna
I've ever
kill us
seen.
now. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, and they found him in the trunk of his car. So
Oh,
that's where most people
he
commit
shot
suicide, right?
himself in
Is
the
in the
back of the head
trunk,
twice and hid in the trunk of his
in the
car.
trunk of your own car.
God.
Took a lot of
Yeah.
planning.
He may have just
Anyway,
as well fallen out of a window in Moscow.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Putin owns Boeing. Maybe you go to the CEO of Boeing and it's just Putin there.
Now, so Mark, you said this may be your favorite thing from the entire run. So
Uh-huh.
let's take. I like this. I do prefer Space 1999, and for me, the image is take Brian Blessed in here and next week's Brian Blessed from the Metamorph, and just put them side by side, and I'm 100% going to choose the wacky one.
That is
That's kind
fair.
of how I feel.
I
This is
think
the lowest key Brian Blessed we've seen so far.
Yes.
I think I just feel like this show doesn't, or this show. I feel like Space 1999 often does not do antagonists very well. Like when there's conflict in Space 1999, it's often kind of irrational. And like, you know how I like The Last Sunset is one of my favorite episodes in that, where there kind of isn't conflict. It's more just like a haha, we screwed you over at
And
the
I'm
end.
like, bring on Jarek, bring on Baylor. I don't care so
Yeah.
much about the serial killers that get possessed by aliens. That I'm
Yeah.
not. But the just
But I mean,
grade
that's what Jarek
A
is, though.
villainous prick is fantastic for me. That's what I'm saying. That's one of the differences.
Yeah. It's, yeah, okay. It's missing acting, but
Even though it has actors on the screen.
it's missing acting. I don't know. The kids are pretty good for kid actors.
Yes.
Usually, child
THX
actors are.
1138. I had so many Wes
Mhm.
Anderson vibes too, especially with the boy. He just looks. I hope that doesn't have to do with a medical condition, but he looks like a Tannenbaum younger, you know.
Yeah, he's very serious. I don't know. I mean, you know, he went through a bunch of he learned the theory of relativity. He's very
Right.
serious.
Yes.
I
Anyway, I
don't
was
know.
just like, my note is these kids are Wes Anderson's wet dream, you know. Like in an intellectual way, by the way. Then it's not supposed to
Okay,
be.
good. Thanks for clearing that up.
Sorry, that sentence. As I said, I was like, "Ooh, that doesn't. That's not quite what I mean."
Maybe that has something to do with why I really do like characters in Wes Anderson movies a lot, but I think a lot of
Putting
people only
putting
like the sets.
putting characters like these in his movie would greatly excite Wes Anderson. There, that's a better sentence.
You just edit that however you need.
Which is none.
Okay.
I have to keep all
Well, I
this
mean,
in
yeah,
mind if I ever watch a Wes Anderson movie, because I
I'm
don't think I've seen one yet.
I'm more worried about Boeing having me killed than I am about you getting canceled. So, you know, take that however it is.
I guess my Anderson advice would be go for the most recent one. Watch Asteroid City. If you hate it, never watch another Wes Anderson film. If you love it, you're in.
That looked
I haven't
interesting, just based on the premise. So yeah, I'll give it a try.
I haven't seen it because I started 2 podcasts where I have to watch one thing a week for each of them. So I don't watch anything else really. I'm like a third of the way through Dune chapter 1 now. I was like, maybe if I finish it fast enough, I can watch part 2 on Cheap Tuesday. Nope, not
I'm
happening.
waiting for the box set.
Yeah, I'll just wait for them to finish it and I'll binge all of it.
Somebody tell me why I'm weirdly uninterested in seeing part 2. I read the book. I seen the Lynch one. I saw part 1 of the recent one. I enjoyed watching it. I said that was a good movie. And now part 2, it's not quite out in Japan, but I'm just like, eh.
I'm gonna be completely honest. Having watched a third of chapter 1, I might wait to watch 2 at home. I find it there's a lot of it's almost the opposite of Day After Tomorrow. Great acting in Dune chapter 1, visually kind of a snooze fest.
Is it too gray? I had the same problem with
It's too
with
gray.
The Arrival.
I understand why. I mean, it's on a sand planet, right?
Yeah.
A sand planet should be muted, right? But no, I think there's a very good reason why my favorite movie of his is Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, that one's
because
colorful.
It looks good. Yeah, I think it looks good.
Prisoner.
You don't have to, you don't have to make your only colorful movies don't have to be Guardians of the Galaxy because it's wacky and fun. Make everything colorful. Dumb Hollywood. Make it black and white or make it colorful. Like pick one. Pick a lane.
I mean, getting back, that's the big
That
charm
said,
of this complete podcast is that I want to look at insane, psychedelic colors a lot.
That said, Divinity, black and white, pretty mid.
Well, black and white's another.
No, I mean it's not because of the
black
and white.
Oh,
it's not because
okay.
of the black and white. It's just a mess.
Hmm.
The guy made the movie up as he made it, so it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, getting back to
Matt
Day
likes
After
colors.
Tomorrow. I also like colors. I'll just go ahead and say that. I don't.
Well, there's that
them.
effect with like the star exploding and the kaleidoscope thing.
Yeah,
I think we see that a lot soon.
Straight up.
I welcome that.
Visually,
some of these effects I think get a little bit reused in later shows. that's cool.
You'll
They're
just
all one
see a
big
glimpse
company.
of the family from this from this special in Space 1999. Like, wait, what? What are they doing here? Yeah, that straight up that does have something to do with it. I also am super amused by how the writers of this clearly don't understand relativity or just kind of messing around with
Yeah,
the fun version of it,
the
which I'm
planet
fine
lesson
with.
was a little bit wonky because they see a planet. Oh, that's Pluto, and I'm like, that's not Pluto. Even I mean, they have to explain it's blue because of how they're moving, so they couldn't just be like that's
It's
Uranus
just a
or
generic
Neptune.
planet.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
when
Yeah,
I think
Pluto's moon hadn't even been discovered when this was shot. Charon, which is like almost the size of Pluto. It's like the
hmm
massive. Pluto's kind of a
it's
double
sort
planet
of,
almost.
yeah, they're like
That hadn't even been
twins.
discovered when this was shot. So they just took a generic planet, it's disk and
Yeah,
wrote it red and blue.
I think I think to me, having basically an educational thing where the people don't know what they're talking about is so funny that it entertains me in a way that other things, because I read
Well, it's aimed toward child
about this.
audience, and they have child audience surrogates on board that can answer or ask all the questions like, "Why is this happening, Dad?"
Yeah.
And then, well, you see, Timmy,
Well,
this is why.
I've always liked educational things. I'm not really sure why. I like the tone and cadence of them. Um,
Mhm.
Honestly, I don't know if I've even ever said this on a podcast, but the thing that got me into Star Trek was LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow being in Next Generation. I followed the Reading Rainbow man to Star Trek.
I was excited
I
about that,
I'm
but
not the only
TOS was
person.
already playing in my
That's
house.
pretty cool.
I was more of a Lost in Space kid, as I've mentioned, and obviously this is Lost in Space, isn't it? This show is kind of
Is it
expensive
though?
Lost in
Is it though?
Space.
Yeah, it
No,
is.
it's not. It is, and it isn't. I mean, it doesn't have, doesn't have Jonathan. Damn, why am I blanking on his last
Dr.
name? It
Smith,
doesn't have Dr. Smith. It doesn't
Jonathan
have the
Harris, by
robot.
the way.
Jonathan Harris. That makes. I think I was gonna say that and it sounded
I
wrong.
lucked out because he kept showing
Uh,
up in the Twilight Zone.
right. Doesn't have Jonathan Harris, who's like a Brian Blessed level actor. I'm
And A
sorry if it's
Bug's Life. I
controversial.
just experienced him again in A Bug's Life.
Yeah, I mean, all Doctors Smith, Parker Posey and Gary Oldman, also fantastic. But you know, um, it doesn't have that. It doesn't. I guess there's not really much of a formula for tension here. I guess what the formula was going to be that they find other things and learn about them.
Yeah, there's no
Right?
aliens or anything in this. It's just them against, you know, nature, then against the stars. It's like whatever bizarre things happen to them. I don't know. Going to series, they probably would have started me running into aliens almost certainly because I think that's expected. They can't have, an Einsteinian based dilemma every week.
Well, what
Can
I
we?
read, the information I read said that the pitch from NBC was 7. So 7
Hmm.
episodes, 6 more. I think you could probably get by on.
See, I'm going to be happier with season 2 of Space 1999, I think, than 6 more episodes of this.
I mean, who
Yeah, I mean,
knows,
we got
dude?
a lot more instead in terms of
Well, just in
total
terms of
output.
vibe, I'm much more excited about watching the newer vibe season 2 stuff that I've only seen 1 episode so far than say 6 more episodes of this.
Well, I mean, it's most likely that since it was supposed to be educational, that we would have gone to let's learn about how to plant things or
Episode
let's learn
3,
about
Nazi planet.
gravity. No, I mean, it would have been
I'm going to
let's
teach you about
learn
history
about
now. Now you're learning about history. We're going
Yeah,
to
because they're gonna go into different topics like
we're
botany or
gonna
whatever, that they're gonna
this
learn
planet's all
new
math.
science. Yeah, the
we're
planet of
gonna have
math.
to
The planet.
repopulate the planet, so we're gonna learn
That's
about
called
genetics.
Mathematics Land. That's where Donald Duck went.
I will continue to refer to the bizarre early 80s Canadian children's show Read All About It, which kind of does that. They end up in the problem pit. And
Problem pit.
Oh,
yeah, they have to
okay.
solve the
Wow.
math problems or they'll die.
Well, that sounds like Squid Game, actually.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, just wait. There's gonna be a Squid Game for math soon enough.
oh, I just put together a reference, Brian. When you said ship out danger, I was like, oh, because you're getting away from a large explosion. Then I read my own note. That drive unit looks like the thing that killed Spock. It's like a reference grenade. It took 20 minutes.
I I had a dream, I think 2 nights ago, that I was at some event and it was sort of like karaoke, but they were making everybody go and do like a rap freestyle. Like, and I just kept rapping about like people dying in the Wrath of Khan. I don't know why.
Yeah, sure, why not?
It was something like it's on like Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan. I'm here to nuke you like Carol Marcus and her son or something like that.
Well, he didn't die till the next movie, but sure.
I know.
I
That's
thought it was funny
that's
that
dream logic.
there was a situation very reminiscent of the climax of Wrath of Khan with the ship having to get out of a dangerous explosions and then also when they go through the black hole, it kind of sort of ends the way the Disney movie Black Hole does, where they just go through and come out the other side and things are new and interesting and the end.
What seems as I said,
I think
I just keep imagining Maximilian Schnell in hell, right? So
Yeah.
it
I
seems
think I
that
picked up on more hell than most people do with the Black Hole movie.
I mean black hole survival rates in science fiction are pretty much 100%.
See, so why be scared at all? But yeah, in
Well, here's
Khan
another one.
what
Oh,
was
sorry,
that?
go ahead.
I was just saying in
Make your
Khan
point.
that explosion was, their own fault, or at least their own nemesis's fault, right? Whereas here I'm like,
Yeah.
wild chance they ended up right next to a soon-to-be supernova sun. Wild chance that the sun is exploding right now. Because
Yeah,
she
that was
smartly
the
says
thing.
it could be 100 years,
Yeah. She's trying to
Well,
make calm Jane down. It could happen 100 years from now with her husband. She's like, oh, it looks bad.
that is insane. Yeah, the probability of you showing up next to a star before it's going to blow up is like what that's like your chances of winning the lottery times 300 trillion or something like that. Like that is insane. That is more insane than almost any I don't know. That's more insane than you finding humans when the moon goes into space.
Oh, the other fun thing when he does fix the drive, I was like, "Hey, Cap is like on time. He's just not early." And then I'm like, "Oh no, the drive also has a bottom half that looks exactly the same." I was like,
Yeah.
Okay,
"Okay."
fix the top half.
Yeah,
Like,
I
okay,
love that they basically have to have him take long enough that he's breaking the rules again. It was breaking the
he's
laws
a
of
rule
you can
breaker,
only last 15 minutes in the heat suit, break the laws of relativity,
young rebel.
watch a sun explode, go into a
Well,
black hole.
I
Yeah,
was
it's all this
unclear if
happens
it
twice.
was the heat or the radiation. It sounded like it was supposed to be you're only exposed to the radiation for so long before you're gonna get, fried by the
Well,
radiation. But then they
I
make it sound like it was all a heat issue, like it was too hot. And
That is
some people say
radiation.
radioactivity is
Could be
like, well, that's
both.
hot in the radioactive sense, but it sounded like it was just physical heat. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I mean, if you
but
were to step into a
they
nuclear reactor, you'd have both problems. So,
well they called it
Yeah.
a heat suit, so I assumed that it was heat because they called it a heat suit. They didn't call it a radiation suit, but
I think
uh
this is a product of simplifying it for, the young audience.
for those dumb
yeah,
kids, not like
yep.
these 12-year-olds that are super geniuses.
But I like the big radio dash active sign on the reactor, which is that the same one
Yeah,
that Zorov walked into in Force of Life. It's the
I
same
believe
door.
so. Yeah. And there's the fail safe light for when the fail safe works. And
Hmm.
then there's the speedometer that goes up to 186,000 miles per second
That's pretty
or over
cool.
it.
I
I like
mean,
how yeah, they wrote the absolute limit across the top just in case you didn't know it.
They always played that music. It was like I love the music in this, by the way. It kind of has me
Music is
excited
fun.
about yeah, it kind of has me excited about the future of Space 1999 music.
groovy.
Anyway,
It's groovy. It's groovy music. Yes.
yeah. Well, it's a groovy vibe, man. Who cares? We're in space. Let's go further. I like how basically you can tell that Jane is kind of hesitant to want to keep going, but she's just like, okay. And then nobody pays any attention. Nobody's like, are you sure? She's like, okay. She said yes. Let's keep going. And that completely dooms them forever, and they'll never see her again. You know what I mean?
They had to have one kind of dissenting almost voice in order to give it some tension, I guess. But
Yep, never
I want
pays
to ask
off.
you guys, this actress, did she give you like really strong Daphne Keene vibes? The girl who was in Wolverine and His Dark Materials. If you saw His Dark Materials. on HBO.
You mean Logan or?
Did not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Logan. The girl,
Oh.
she's the girl from Logan. That's Daphne Keane.
I guess
this
by
girl
saying
reminds
that,
me
I
of
can say
her.
yes.
This girl reminded
Sure,
me of her
yeah.
so much, but of course it was recorded 49 years ago now. So it's like I don't. Then there's no relation or anything. But whenever I saw her, it's like she has that Daphne Keane sort of look. Because I watched His Dark Materials on HBO, and then had her face in mind when I saw it.
Also for me,
At
Logan.
that age, about that
Logan
same
is
age.
like, I watched it, pretty good movie. I'll never watch that again.
I'd watch it again, but I haven't. So there you go. I'm not avoiding watching it. I'm not avoiding watching it because it was dark. I'm avoiding watching it because I've seen enough superhero movies and I don't need to
That's
see anymore.
part of it. I
Like
mean,
the
honestly,
exact same reason that I don't rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy again.
I mean, someone bopped in and was like, let's watch Logan. That'd be fine. I just don't see
Yep.
myself choosing to screen it for myself, anytime soon.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna watch when I come visit Matt someday in Japan.
I got Logan
Just
for
walk
you.
in. Let's watch Logan.
Let's watch
I
Matt
came all
hates
the way to
body
Japan
horror.
to watch Logan.
Be like, hey, let's watch I don't know, what's a body horror movie? Let's watch the Cronenberg Marathon.
Yeah, the Cronenberg
Videodrome.
But I do love Videodrome, so
Yeah,
just shove this
the Videodrome's
VHS
different.
into your stomach.
that one just but that one just transcends by being really good.
Well, it's also really ridiculous. Like I think I think The Fly is technically a better movie, but that's one where I don't remember the last time I watched The Fly like casually, because that one like pushes buttons for me. It's like a little much sometimes. Like immediate, you get, speaking of spaghettification, I mean, you get the chimp gets spaghettified in like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well,
you know how much I love teleporter accidents, but that one's like,
I love me a good teleporter accident. I wish I had more of them. Too many redundancies. Speaking of which, maybe Alteri's needed a few more redundancies. When did Sci-Fi like figure out that there should be backup systems? I feel like TOS never has any backup systems. They don't hear. Is it next gen when they start having like, backup power and stuff? Forbidden Planet, they don't have anything backup.
Well, TOS had the auxiliary bridge that could be taken over by space hippies.
Right, but they did not have backup systems, is what I'm saying.
Which is kind of like the command center to the bridge's main mission when you think about it. Bring it back
I'm
to space
completely talking out of my ass here and have no idea what I'm talking about, but it feels like maybe that by the time next gen came out, that they were doing more things with just make anything possible out of like convenience to save budget. Or like the holodeck itself is basically like a budget saving device, even though it also makes a bunch of things, even though it also makes a lot of things possible that aren't otherwise. But
well, the holodeck also made a lot of location shooting possible, which is not budget saving by definition.
Yeah.
You have to go outside to get a forest or something.
But I mean, if your location is just the set of a movie that just got filmed on the Paramount lot and they just have the set sitting there, then it's like you don't have to do a time travel episode, which is good because time travel is nonsense unless you're going forward, and which is what this show does.
This also might be the end of the Gary Anderson obsession with having narrations on this stuff, at least in Space 1999 stuff. I wrote that the voiceover is like refined Ed Wood, kind of like a dumb Douglas Rain. That was the vibe I got.
That was the only cast member I didn't put in my trivia because I figured that the trivia is going out of control. But
okay, so I guess his name is now
you know who that is,
right? Who is that?
Well, I can tell you in a few seconds.
It's Ed Bishop from UFO.
Oh, I did see that a little bit. Yeah, I did see that little bit.
And also it pops up in a couple of Bond movies in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. I think all this recent voiceover is just rubbing me the wrong way, so I'm getting like extra snarky about it.
He's in 2001.
Really? With Douglas Rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ares 1B lunar shuttle captain. Remember that? It's the most memorable thing.
Of course.
I like Ed Bishop.
He eats a
get
sandwich,
to UFO,
though.
It's gonna be
I
fun.
think he did a better job of voiceover than either of our Space 1999 leads did.
Well, that's why I'm saying just having those be
Right?
the last two episodes that we did in season 1, and I'm like, oh god, another voiceover,
Yeah.
It does make more sense here because it's a completely new situation that needs a bit of description. So I am being overly obnoxious about it, but
Oh,
Well,
he
I was
played
just
the
glad to hear his voice because, it's another Anderson regular.
he played the president of the United States in Threads. Speaking of
oh,
films,
the
I'm not even
depressing
going to
one,
watch. I'm not going to even watch that for the first time.
right? Let's
I mean,
see.
I watched the ending. That's the only thing. I'm like, nope, no thanks.
Also, inertial dampeners. The Altares clearly has no inertial dampeners, as Mom learns by slamming
Well, I
into
liked
the.
the fact that then when they started to accelerate, they're sitting there arguing about it, and then he finally goes, "Oh, screw the theory, strap in." And that point,
Yeah,
suddenly everybody's being pulled back in their
yeah,
Adventure
seats. Prior to that,
time.
yeah.
they're all hunched
That's
over talking to each other, and it's like, you're accelerating rapidly. Why aren't you all being thrown to the back of the ship right now?
It's a Rick
I
Sanchez move,
mean,
isn't it?
you would, yeah, you would be paced at that point. You would, you would, and
Is this the
yeah,
beginning of using compressed air to make people look like they're going really fast? When did
I
that
don't
start?
think
Because we see
so.
that in Space 1999 too. They got an air compressor somewhere, and so they just blow it in people's face to make it look like their skin is ripping off their face at a great
Yeah,
accelerate. And the only other time I remember seeing that off the top of my head is in Moonraker when Bond's in the centrifuge. It's the same thing, but I was wondering when that became a trope. You know,
Tom
I
Cruise
think it
doesn't put
was
up for that stuff. He's like, wind
around
tunnel's
this
not good enough for
time.
me.
I'm
I
sure
just
that's been used before, but I can't. I cannot remember. The thing I'm thinking of the most is like Inner Space.
hmm
That was a big thing in
any
Inner
high
Space.
acceleration situation. I want to make a supercut now of all the movies that have done that, where it's plainly obvious that air is being blown into their faces.
Yeah, they did end
Uh,
up looking like weird and rubbery in this one. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
but
10
Well,
day
somebody
shooting
pointed it right
schedule.
down Brian Bless's teeth, and his cheeks are going.
and I again, I thought it was kind of wacky enough to be fun,
Oh,
and
I actually wrote
uh,
a note for that moment, Brian. I
Is that the
didn't know
one
what.
with?
Yeah, I wrote blah 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 blah, and I didn't know why, and now I remember why. My note is
I
blah
figured
blah blah
that's
blah
what you were
blah blah,
referring to. Yeah, yeah.
all in one word.
I wrote in my notes that Nick Tate looks to the camera and says "screw relativity" because that's what it felt like.
Did he not do that?
It was almost that. It was almost that. It was like he's like,
Screw the
yeah,
theory. Everyone strap in. And now
Well,
yeah.
everyone's suddenly realizing they're going fast.
Landell said, "When you're the star, you can be the hero."
It's time for E equals MC cubed.
That's true. He finally got his revenge. He's the
It's
hero.
it's Nick
He got to
time.
be the star. It's
Yeah.
Nick's
Take
hour.
time. Take time. We're
I think
living
the
on
silliest
take
scene
time
was
now.
when Anna gets blown all the way to the back and they cut to her and her hair is just like against the
Yeah, she
glass. And
looked
she's like,
drunk.
I'm fine.
I was like, she is in my notes says like she's dead. She's dead. Um,
Well, yeah,
but
I mean, just
do you
weird.
think that do you guys think that Martin Landau like came up to Nick Tate and was like, "Well, kid, you tried being the star and you blew it. You blew it." He's
Yeah,
just gonna be a
on season
complete
2 of
jerk
Space
about it.
1999 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, now that you mentioned it, he did kind of look a little deflated in the metamorph. So,
That's because he was almost fired, right?
I think yeah, he was almost fired. And I think maybe even there might have even been some like fan interference on his part, but definitely, um, he probably did not feel safe there. He was almost fired. His pilot died. He didn't get to be the miserable second. He didn't get to be the co-star of one episode last season. you know.
So that's is that your name for this episode then? Tate time?
Yeah, it's Tate time.
Okay.
Tate
Oh,
equals
I have a
MC
Nick
Tate.
I have a Nick Tate story when I was at Breakaway Con. We were watching Testament of Arcadia and I was sitting next to him and they were talking some scene on Arcadia and I turned to him and said, "Do you remember filming?" I said, "What were you thinking when you filmed this?" And he looked at me and says, I don't even remember filming this."
It was the
And that was
70s,
30 years
man.
ago.
Yeah,
That was
nobody
25
knew
years
that
ago now.
was
You couldn't
nobody knew
remember
that was
then.
going to build up a bunch of fandom. I don't think it's like Star Trek didn't, right? I mean,
Wish I'd
I mean
mentioned that in the
maybe Star Trek did, but everyone who worked on Star Wars thought it was going to be just a dumpster, like a dumpster
Yeah,
fire.
everybody thought Star Wars was going to flop, including Lucas, which is why he
I
hid out in Hawaii when it opened.
I haven't seen any evidence,
Oh,
but
that's
I'm
why he hid
convinced
out
that
in
Alec
Hawaii.
I'm convinced that Alec Guinness was drunk the entire time that first movie.
No, I'm pretty sure he was, and he should have been drunk for the second two.
No, he's sobered up because he's dead and he's a ghost. So that makes sense. He
I
stopped doing
don't
all this.
care. I want the Obi-Wan from the first movie. That's all I'm saying.
I kind of like the way he kind
Well-
of prattled on, and we talked to Luke, and it says, "Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough, but your uncle wouldn't allow it.
I mean, the
Afraid
first
you'd follow
movie
old
is
Obi-Wan, some damn fool idealistic crusade like your father did."
I know why, because I'm a big Alan Watts fan, and he in his late 60s riverboat lectures, he sounds tough. It's like Obi-Wan is teaching you about metaphysics or something. It's fun.
I mean,
Wasn't he in like the Magic Christian or something? I'm trying to remember.
Alan Watts?
The Magic
Maybe?
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness. Okay, I was about to say, I don't think Alan Watts was in anything except for his
He was in some
PBS
crazy
specials.
comedies here and there.
Yeah, Alec Guinness. That sounds like, I think everybody's in the Magic Christian though.
never even heard of this.
It stars Ringo Starr.
Wow. Is this
Music by
is it-
Badfinger.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
It's one of those late 60s, mod British curiosity films. Kind of like the Casino Royale film from the 60s. That vibe.
Okay.
That vibe, yeah.
All right.
Funky. It's funny.
Like it's kind of not good, but it's kind of really entertaining at the same time. And then there are good things about it. So it's a real potpourri of weird flavors.
Oh, Terry Southern. Why does that sound familiar?
Because he wrote Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, I'll have to
Wow,
watch this
I'm
at some
impressed with
point.
myself. I just ripped that out. Okay.
Matt's got all the trivia.
Well, I'll have to check this out at some point. Yeah, but anyway, getting back to Alec Guinness.
Who's not
Yeah,
in this?
I've sort of settled on that the first Star Wars is the best, and I don't think that my mind is going to change because I think that the Force sucks, and the more you use it, the worse it is. So basically the first movie is when the Force is at its strongest, and they've just been diluting the Force constantly by using it.
I guess I go with The Last Jedi now, partly because I do like it, and partly because it pisses off half the people you say that.
I think
partly that. I will admit that.
I like it better than any of the other movies past Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? I like it better for sure. Anyway, this is just turned into Star Wars time again.
I've been sitting on this Into Infinity question for like 2 minutes now. Preferred black hole sequence. You know what? Go ahead, take the black hole movie. Take Black Sun from Space 1999 and this one.
I don't remember the black hole movie.
Okay, don't worry about that. How about Black Sun then?
I think I like this better than Black Sun.
Okay.
Because the old person makeup looked bad in that.
Oh, okay. See, I'm going Black Sun because of the old person makeup and how ridiculous that is.
I like the concept, but it's not. It's like 2001 is not a black hole sequence, but it's
no. That's why I didn't bring it up.
But that's more,
and that's incomparable, isn't it? You can compare that to anything.
You could make something like that, but you just don't really see people try.
Right. Yeah, I just wrote still going to put the Black Sun trip over this, though this one is more colorful, and I do find that appealing.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I think the Black Sun was a little more metaphysical and not people just kind of slow-mo walking backwards away from each other. Which
I guess that
makes sense. But it makes much sense. It's two old guys on a limbo set with, the star filter on the lens. So I don't know.
I guess I'm going to be the NBC special treat defender in this one.
Yeah.
I am noting 75% into my notes. I did finally write white people in space.
Maybe it should have been called that.
Because
we only see like 6 people in this entire thing. So yeah,
you could
they're
have
all British.
Families of 2 different ethnicities, couldn't you?
They could have done that.
What was the first TV or movie series that put black people in space? It was British. It was Red Dwarf, right? I mean, really? Well, no, that's not. That wasn't the first. But
Kano's in this.
Kano, you're right.
He was.
Uhura.
Then I said
Uhura.
That EC comic book that they made them censor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's gone.
I think
Space 1999 is British though.
Yeah.
And so is Kano. So
we just talking about the British, are we?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
he's talking about
you
British
you
sci-fi,
made it.
right?
You sort of. It sounded like you were trying to connect British and white people in space. I was like, well,
Okay. um,
okay.
I haven't seen that much UFO. Does that how does that roll? Is that just overly British with the cast, or
Why do I? In my head, it's puppets, and I know it's not.
it's not
There are some African American or African
British?
Anglo-African, I
British.
guess you'd say, actors in that series
Yeah.
too. I
Okay.
mean, they were there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because yeah, it is interesting to track when when does media like start to get the hint they should diversify more, which is so in this episode, no one got that memo, but Space 1999 did, so we won't
Well, it's
throw them
kind of
under the
like that
bus.
70s base level, secondary character diversification,
Yeah.
background characters, not so much stars. So
Yep.
I think we
But
could still throw our season one question on this one about sci-fi fun and existential dread because I think we have a bit of both here.
it's
So
true.
so we'll keep our season one question and apply it to Into Infinity. Um I'm staring at Mark's
100%,
screen, so 100
100% fun.
100% fun. No dread?
No dread.
No dread.
I'll
Okay.
Who
get I'll
cares?
I'll give it 85, 90% fun. There's a little bit of dread because they keep coming across terrible stellar phenomenon like supernovas and black holes in rapid succession, so they could die in any second.
Yeah, it's like it's. I guess I just don't feel dread because for some reason nobody in the series, except for briefly, the girl seems to be worried for just a second
There's a
when
lot of
Nick Tate is
stiff
on
upper
fire.
lipism in this. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
stoic British people. We're just being stoic because that's what we're
I'm
British.
I'm going 30% dread because what Brian said, plus the chance of the wild chances of it all happening, and the extremely low. I mean, basically, the probability of this of happening to them all at once is the same probability of the universe blinking out in the next instant. Okay.
The end.
Yeah.
That was the sun exploding is pretty. That is just so ridiculous that it's funny to me, even though that should be terrifying, right? But it's like you would never get over that if you
I
were
don't know if it
really
went
a
through my mind
scientific
when I saw it
person.
as a kid originally. It was
Well,
just like
Like,
it was quite a roller coaster. I mean, all this happened in 1 hour. In one
yeah,
hour story. It was
you
a heck
would
of a roller
that
coaster.
would
So when you're a kid watching this, it's like, oh wow, this is gonna happen. Oh, this is bad. Oh,
I think that if that happened, really, if that happened to you, that and you're a scientific minded person like these people are allegedly, you would never get over it because it would be such an insane coincidence that would destroy your mind.
yeah.
Like, I
Um,
mean, what's the I don't know. Can you think of off the top of your head just an insane coincidence? Like, okay, my maternal grandmother died 50 years to the day after my maternal grandfather. Like, that's insane. That still kind of makes me crazy. It's
okay.
not like, I don't know. I'm not a religious person, so therefore it just is an insane coincidence in
I
my
guess
brain.
I don't know if this is more or less. I remember a school trip in junior high school, and I'm walking in Lucerne, Switzerland, along with a guy that also went to my parents' church, and then we ran into like our Sunday school teacher or whatever. So no, we wouldn't have been in Sunday
Huh?
school at that age, but we ran into someone like notable from the church, so in Lucerne, Switzerland. So that was a little weird, I
Well,
guess.
that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
So like the probability, yeah.
didn't drive me
Everyone on Earth,
insane.
yeah. I mean,
it
but
did
but
not
your
drive me insane.
your
Or did
chances
it?
of running into anyone on Earth is like a billions of times higher than showing up at a star at the
You are
time that it,
correct. Well, yeah, that's why I had to compare it to the universe just suddenly blinking out in the next instant, right? Because there's like
yeah.
five of them all in the space of an hour. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
again, if we think the moon base alpha folks are, subject to wild coincidences, but these
mhm.
guys at least have like a drive to like explain the motion, I guess.
Well,
So,
maybe they're seen subjected to the same mysterious unknown force that Moonbase Alpha,
Yeah.
the destiny, the guiding
I feel
destiny
like
or
this was
something.
supposed to be drier though. Like
Well,
this was not supposed to bring in any metaphysics.
Yeah, but
It
then
just
Johnny
is.
Byrne wrote it.
Yeah, true,
So
true. Exactly.
well,
That's
yeah.
where
he
we
gave
get
his
into
testament of
screw
Arcadia for
relativity.
crying out loud. So
Screw
yes.
relativity. That's where that comes from,
Yeah,
right?
relativity is Koenig's bag. I am gonna break it.
Mark,
No, but
Mark, would you feel
um
more dread if the supernova didn't just look like a Roman candle?
I suppose. I
Okay.
mean, I think I would feel more dread if I'm trying to think of what I don't know if it was realistic, then it would almost I would be more full of dread if it almost looked like it was going to blow up, but it didn't, because that would feel realistic, I guess.
Okay, so I've
But
got a this ties in perfectly. I got a weird coincidence for you.
okay.
Um, the gentleman who wrote this novelization a few years ago, Gregory L. Norris,
Mhm.
I know this guy. I met him at Breakaway Con in 1999, along with John Kenneth Muir, who wrote the other book about space, 1999. And at the time, he had already sold a couple story pitches to Voyager. I don't think he's gotten any credit, but I think the core of a couple episodes, the main story idea, was written by Greg. And yeah, so I hung out with him. He was a cool guy. And then 20 years later, I find he's found his way to writing the novelization to this story, and now we're talking about it today.
All right.
And it's pretty good. It's got some interesting twists included into it to kind of jazz it up a little bit. One of which being the guy back at the base who took the dog. What's his name? Forbes.
Uh, yeah, the screen guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jim Forbes. Yes.
he threw in a interesting plot twist. It turns out that Anna Bowen like had an affair with him or something.
Oh, nice. I love that.
And she's like feeling guilty about it throughout the entire trip, but then she makes up with her husband at the end because they're stuck in space. They're never gonna see Earth again. May as well get over it now. But I thought that was
Wow.
kind of an adult twist to what was essentially sort of a young adult novel.
All right. Man, I respect that.
And there was
I
another story about, how the two Antares kind of like splits apart when it's going through the black hole. There's like this subplot about one of them going off into like an alternate timeline, and it becomes like a doomed craft, like a Flying Dutchman or something that comes
hmm.
back and haunts the current crew in their dreams. And so that subplot is running through the book too. Like, what's this strange dreams we're all having? And it has something to do with that. And I have to read it again really to kind of make all
Hmm.
the pieces connect. But those are the two main diversions from the basic stories. And I thought I'd make mention of that. But yeah, I have to get in touch with Greg someday and see if he remembers me and maybe direct him to this podcast and say, "Hi, Greg."
Hello. I read something that there was a novelization written when it aired, but then that never came out. And is this a different
Yeah,
novelization? Is that what's going on?
it was
Okay.
one of the I think it was John Rankine, I think, or that's his pseudonym. I think his name is Mason or something like that. Yeah, he who had written some of the first season novels was scheduled, and I think he had to write a novelization to this because he was going to write more, but there weren't any more, and so that got shelved and it never got published, and that's why ages later this came up. And that's another Easter egg in this book. They refer to a street back home that Harry and Jane used to live on called Rankine Way, Rankine Lane.
No, it's amazing just how much this episode has been like kind of swept under the rug. Like I'm sitting here, why isn't it on the Space 1999
I've
set?
always
It kind of
remembered
makes
this, and I've
sense.
waited decades for it to kind of resurface, and it finally has. And so I'm really glad to see that it's out there and people can see it. It's
I
it's
guess it was
fun. It's
legit lost for a while, like a Doctor Who episode or something.
Yeah, I think
Well,
no, I think yeah, like I think the master tapes probably got wiped, and so there was a copy somewhere that maybe every version we've seen since then, including these Blu-ray ones, had to be upscaled and not
well,
not rescanned from the
you
original.
remember when we did the Cube for Time Enough podcast, and I was trying to find other episodes of what was it called? NBC's Adventures in Television or something like that,
Something like that.
where
That
you
sounds
couldn't, you can't find
convincing.
almost any of those episodes because they're
Right.
not Jim Henson directed.
Well, I was just saying, what is it? 50% of films made before 1950, American films made before 1950 are lost, and 90% of American films made before 1929 are lost.
mhm. And then now we just cancel them and write them off on our taxes and then throw them away.
We used to, light the nitrate in a movie theater with Hitler, That's how we used to get rid of the
Well,
films and kill
maybe
Hitler.
maybe we should put David Zaslav in a movie theater and light something on fire there
There
and
was a
make
there
him
was a
melt.
lost Clara Bow film that was just found recently. Did you see that?
I did not.
No.
It's like literally 100-year-old movie that
Neat.
was that turned up
Oh,
somewhere. It's like
it's called the Pill Pounder.
the pill
Can't
pounder.
wait.
That's it. That's it.
All right.
What is
They
that?
found it in like Nebraska somewhere, like a print. And
Does
they're
that mean
like,
you're
what?
turning the pills into
It's like
dust?
I think that means that you're taking pills really fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just imagine it being like
You
just
you
taking
you
drugs.
you could watch silent movies at the correct speed and with music that's not insane, you know.
Never.
That's very possible.
It's the Pill Pounder. See?
Right.
So even now, 100 years later, things can resurface. So there's always, some hope that some of these lost things will come back.
Anyway, yeah, because when we started the podcast, I didn't know about this at all. I mean, I knew about the message from Moonbase Alpha at the end of the series, or the way, from the late 90s, but I didn't know about this.
I found out about it while doing trivia research for the Metamorph, I think. Then I messaged Matt, was like, hey, you want to do this? He was just like, yeah, we're going to do it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I
More
guess probably both of you.
coincidences. Okay. Is there anything
Yeah,
else
I turned to the camera and said, screw relativity. We're going to do this episode.
right. Any final thunks you want to thought about on this one?
Well, it's much like Star Wars. It's probably just best that there is just one of these.
You couldn't handle 7 then.
It was also ill-timed, like Space 1999 itself, because once Star Wars hit the world, science fiction suddenly became in vogue, and so you keep seeing these mid-70s efforts to do science fiction that never got a chance because people will go, "Oh, science fiction, blah."
Oh, my favorite ones is where they just greenlight a film that is 70s as hell, but has Star Wars money, like Flash Gordon, just or Lynch Dune, where it's like clearly it's just sort of like we're trying to go forward without having those couple of ingredients. But there is a really good Star Wars sequel, and it's called Spaceballs.
All right.
Spaceballs looks great.
Yeah. It's been a while
Anyway.
since I watched Spaceballs.
It's got sand in it.
Of course.
Yeah, it's got the
I hate sand.
it's got
It's in everything.
like worms.
I
Anyway.
guess let's wrap it up then.
Okay, well, if you'd like to find us on Patreon at podcastio.pod. I almost said podcastio.podcastius. My brain is not working at all tonight. You can find us on Patreon.
Is that the website?
Yes, it's a website. It's a website where you can find sand, you can find worms, you can find the Force, you can find other podcasts such as Films and Filth and Painted Podcasts, Luke Lowe's Pokemon Game Show, Time Enough Podcast, Occult Disney, Hyrule Field Report, Game Show, and you can find outtakes. You can find a place to send money to us for hosting things like this, so we can threaten Boeing and get death threats from them back, because that's what a relationship is.
I like how you seem to get increasingly depressed as the pitch went on and then became despondent at the end of it.
Existential dread, man.
Yeah, there's the existential dread.
That's one way to go into infinity.
Remember, E equals MC squared.
I thought you were going to scream there, but you didn't. Okay. Maybe you're getting better about it. You're getting over it.
It has to be E equals MC squared.
Hey, I never really worked out. What is the order on season 2 of Space 1999?
You tell me.
That's what I'm about to do. I'm just like, does it have wonky different sequences?
Yeah,
or
but I mean, if we've already
been more regular
production order, it is closer. Airing order of that was closer to production order, but it's still not exactly the same. But
anyway, we're going by the holy Bible of my DVD, not Blu-ray set.
Are we? Wait, let me hang on a second.
By the way, Matt, I don't think a message from Moonbase Alpha is in that Blu-ray set.
Not in the Blu-ray set.
But you have the you have it there?
can read that.
Alternative sequences, Deso
What's
Dominion,
your
message from Moonbase. Okay, it's there. Okay, good. You must have the A&E set. Yes. All right.
Yes, I do.
Matt? What's your third episode for season 2?
You mean the second?
No, you tell me what the third one is.
Okay. One Moment of Humanity.
Okay, production order.
Yeah, that's what I kind of assumed. Anyway,
So
the
yeah, we'll just keep doing that because I'd rather just keep doing that than switch up and
I think it makes more
confuse
sense.
people.
Yeah. I just literally didn't know if this season was as wonky as we've just gotten used to doing shows that have such bizarre orders that like is that
Well,
the case?
the reason I asked is because the second episode is the second episode everywhere. So
Oh, okay. So that is the Exiles then. That's what
mhm.
we can
And
do.
there's some shuffling, but not like a ton of it.
I was
Okay.
listening to the Derek Wadsworth DVD or CD of the soundtrack, and it's like the first 3 episodes get full scores from him, and then it's like a typical Twilight Zone situation where that music is going to get recycled
Yeah, as well say, isn't it?
Where
for the
Twilight
rest of
Zone?
the season. Just like first season of this and Star Trek and a lot of other things. I think he did like 5 scores altogether. The Tabor, and then the last one I think he did was way down the list. Space Borb, I think, was the last original score for the episode. But everything else you hear, it's going to sound very familiar.
Yeah,
I
I have
mean,
a feeling we're
that's
going to get
yeah.
more repetition in the second series than the first.
But there is some
Yeah.
more, library music use in this, just like in the first season. So you'll hear some other little pieces throughout.
There might have been a little library music in the in this, but I wasn't entirely sure. And like I said, I felt like I was just shoving tons of trivia into people's throats, so I'd cut it off at
Ears,
some point.
ears. Your throat was doing that.
Ears?
Yeah, because
I
you're
was shoving them
talking
into
using your throat, and
their
then it
throat of their
shoves into their
ears.
ears, into the throat of their ears. Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, that one. Let's see. Next week. Uh, the same time might work. Oh, I guess for both of you, Monday night, I'm gonna go ahead and do the Twilight Zone season 3 recap. If anyone wants to bop in, it's gonna be the same 430 price point.
Yep. That's why I've got it on my thing.
You've got it.
So what's
Brian,
today? Tuesday?
for you, yes,
Okay. Yeah,
this
I
would
can
be
do
a
next
Monday.
Tuesday.
So
I
anyway,
mean,
Brian, you're
we're
welcome
talking
to
about
join into if you want to, or not. Both are, perfectly fine.
I
You're
thought you were
gonna
gonna
call in the usual
suggest the time
cast of
for
characters.
Well, I got
I mean,
Who else is signed up for this? Anybody?
Sean, the Patreon fella, because he's
wait,
like a
can
while
we
ago.
start
So.
calling him Patreon Sean? It rhymes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Maybe
not.
not to
Maybe
his
we shouldn't.
face, but
That's not a great. Yeah, that's not a great.
I hope he
Money
doesn't
guy.
listen to this recording then.
but he was
No,
very interested in doing that, so I was like,
he's a good egg.
I'll put a pin
No, I
on.
like
Yeah.
Sean.
I basically
Good
He and I
decided-
premiered together on the
yes.
second season wrap
Hell
with him.
yeah.
So I put that. I basically was like, found a date that was good with him, and then just anyone else who. Well, if you guys come into that orbit, that's like 4 people's enough. So
I disagree. I think we could have.
Well,
I
maybe
think
I'll
we
send
have
Andrew an
7, 8,
I'll
9,
send
10 people if you want.
I'll send Andrew an invite then.
Yeah.
CT Jim
Yeah,
send.
do send Andrew an invite. He's definitely seen all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, maybe it'll be 5 people.
I look
I'm
down
just
the list
super
and I see so
excited
many
that
people
I'm-
haven't been on in a long time, like Jessica or let's see, Char's been on lately. I think.
I got her listed for one before too long. She's
Okay.
somewhere at the start of Jessica. I'm gonna get hold of because she was bopping from LA to Chicago a lot, so it's kind of hard to get her pinned down for a podcast for a while, or at least an extracurricular one.
Oh, she lives in Chicago now, right? I believe.
I think so, but yeah, there was a period where last fall I stopped inviting her quite as much because she was like moving back and forth a lot, it seemed. So, but I will be sending her one for Doctor Strangelove soon because she requested that quite a while ago. But yeah, this is weird. I keep trying to. This is like a Twilight Zone thing. I keep sending myself from my work computer the season 4 schedule, and it keeps like deleting itself from my email when I get home. It's weird.
Is your Gmail full or something?
No. Other things go through. It's a very I'll just print it out and do it normals, I guess.
who went into the Twilight Zone? Your email.
Yes,
That's what
exactly. Yeah. So,
I think you need a Google Doc and so everyone can keep tabs of where we are in this.
That's
oh,
pretty,
okay.
yeah, good.
Well, I'm about to have the paper under my desk at least. So,
Yeah, but then you can edit it from either work or home, and it will be in one place,
yes.
and
Anyway,
others can
think
consult
both.
it.
I think I put your names next to 2 episodes.
I've
Yeah, yeah. With 18 episodes, it kind of quickly, filled in, and also the regulars have become relatively regular at this point. So,
I can't
What did
believe I
I have?
watched the
Valley of the
wrong.
Shadow and something else. I think I requested
Yeah,
to.
Brian, I watched Valley of the Shadow thinking it was the season opener because the pirate site I went to had them reversed. So I was like, huh,
That's
why is this
funny
called In His
because
Image? That
you
has
had the
nothing to
same
do
thing
with it.
happen. Yeah.
I had the same thing happen, but I had actually ripped my own DVDs and I mislabeled them, and so I ended up watching that one first. And I was like, wait, that's not the first one.
That
You
is the
think
next one I have
somebody's
to record, by the way. Well, or that's the next episode of production of my podcast, I should say.
When are you going to start airing them again?
Uh,
Because you have to do the season 3 wrap up before you can start unrolling
right,
them.
right. So season 3 wrap up of recording on yours, whatever your Tuesday is. I'll probably put it out like real quickly after that, like maybe not even on the normal release day. April 1st will be the weekly return of the podcast. So because we have an
This
April
one?
1st
What
episode.
about this one? That's Twilight Zone. What about this one?
The next Twilight Zone, what?
What about Space 1999? When are you going to start that one again?
April as well.
Okay, so we're just banking things for April. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I just decided to put it
Spring
off for
break.
March. Yeah, to take
Spring break.
because both of them hit the season and like at the same time, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
it's
then
a good idea to stay ahead one way or another.
yeah,
That's why I was
you know,
suggesting doing like a well, yeah, we're ahead in Films and Filth anyway. It doesn't matter.
everything's ahead at the moment, which is nice. The only one that's not ahead is called Disney, and that one, honestly, it doesn't really matter because there's not so much of a regular release for that anyway. It's just happened to become more regular recently. But where was it? Yeah, anyway, Valley of Shadow is the next one that I'm going to do unless I do them out of order. So we'll talk about that sometime soon. Yeah, the space will be ahead a little bit, but yeah, season 4 is just all the very regular. So mostly 1 or 2 episodes. You guys, Luke, Sean has 2, Andrew has a couple, John has a couple, Mike has a couple, Dorian has 1 or 2, and Shar has 1 or 2, and that's the season, right? There's only 18.
18, yeah. Well, spoiler alert, we didn't have I don't think any of them have had like more to talk about than a 30-minute episode would so far. So,
In his image, we'd certainly had more than
there was
the 30 Fathom Grave.
that one, yeah, that one had more than the 2 after it, but I'm hoping that more towards the end of the season they just start filling them up with stuff. But
We get to do the Bard eventually. The Bard's coming.
Isn't that like the lowest rated episode of the series, period?
Yes. I don't remember
Right.
who I put on that one. Might be
it's
one of you
pretty
guys.
silly.
One of you guys might have been down for the
I'll
Bard.
take it, whatever.
Oh no, Brian, you would,
I think
because you specifically asked me for a few. Mark takes what he gets.
I asked for the Dennis Hopper one.
Did I ask for Death
You
Ship?
probably
I
already
think I
gave
asked for
that
Death
to
Ship.
somebody, right?
Was that?
Did I have Death Ship? I think I asked for Death Ship.
You might.
Yeah, I asked
You
for a
don't know?
Dennis Hopper
Oh,
one. I
okay.
assume you gave the Dennis Hopper one to somebody else already without having looked at your notes.
Let me see if I
Was it the
just
4th
missed
one?
it in my I'm going to look at my email again here. No, I've
Frankly,
literally
I never
sent it
quite
to
know which
myself
one I'm going to do
twice.
sometimes. It's like, remember that one I asked you about 6 months ago? And you're like, you're like, I guess you don't.
No, this one's been weird in that it just like doesn't seem to want to let me have my list digitally. Okay, those are photos. That's no good. A Bug's Life. That's no good. See, everything else is here. I don't get it. Milan, that's here. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like you can't have that list digitally. So very Twilight Zone.
Submitted viewer approval.
I was looking at my screen. I was like, did we cut out? But no. Okay, everyone is
What?
just.
I don't
just
know what
went
you're talking
quiet.
about anymore.
Oh, I'm lamenting over my emails because everything I send to myself comes through except for that. Oh. No, that's a message about the season, but it's not the list. Okay. Weird.
Mm.
It just will not let me have my list. It's like not even in my deleted. It's just, yeah, bizarre. Okay. Because I keep talking vaguely about season 4, right?
Maybe it went to the
Because it seemed
to
like
the
it was
future.
forever in the distance, like we'd never gonna get there.
Because I made the list like a month ago and I just have not gotten it into my house yet. Weird. Yeah, I can
Hmm.
find no trace of it. Oh no, that's junk mail that I shouldn't click on. They put my
No, don't do it.
they made it look like I sent it for myself, right? But I didn't. Da, da, da. One more check. Unless someone is in a rush or something, please feel free to bop off because I'm finished. But I am going to look into my Yahoo on the weird case that for some reason it went to Yahoo Mail.
Mm.
If I can even get into Yahoo because it's such a broken website at this point.
I think Verizon bought it and just kind of no one's done anything with Yahoo anymore.
I have to
I
remember how to
think
do at.
didn't Yahoo buy Tumblr and then take the porn off of it, and then nobody went to Tumblr anymore?
I don't
Something like
know.
that.
I think that have happened.
Next. I'm not a
And one of these days,
robot.
these big former glory websites are all just gonna just go away and they're gonna go offline and people are gonna go, no, it's like
Prove I'm not a robot
GeoCities.
again?
No.
Prove I'm not a robot again. But I already proved I'm not a robot once.
It should be illegal that when when you put your password in and then it makes you prove you're not a robot and then it says your password is wrong, like that should be illegal.
It did that.
Like what the hell? Let me tell me if I mess the password up, just let me try again. Don't make me ugh. Anyway.
Anyway, I can't seem to even get into my
Internet's terrible.
Yahoo here. Okay. Is it really you? Yes. No. Okay. Giving up on Yahoo now. Sorry, guys. This is just becoming like a shit show of dumb screens. So yes, when I said Yahoo is very broken now, that is correct.
I hate the ones that just kind of quietly delete your account and then you discover you don't have it anymore and somebody else has it. Like I had an alias on Yahoo like 25 years ago and I went to go check on it and it was not there
One more
because I didn't use
try
it.
on the weird thing that it might be on my phone.
Funny thing is like uh Alex Matt, like he had all of these Rock Band songs we paid for on Xbox, and I like remembered his email and his password to his email where he had forgotten it. So I have access to his account and all the songs now.
I guess that's nice.
That's
Is that
interesting.
nice?
It's nice for me because I paid money for that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. This is so annoying. How is it just okay? Yeah. Anyway, that's my Twilight Zone list keeps falling into the Twilight Zone. I've literally sent it to myself twice, and I have nothing to show for it.
Hmm.
Because then I'm at the work computer, so I can't just like send it through Discord, Documents. Let's just see if it's in the doc. Come on, computer, stop.
Well, what did you do? Just email it to yourself from work? Is that how you get it off the
Yeah,
work
like
computer?
3 times or 2 times, excuse me. 3 times is an exaggeration.
Maybe there's some sort of compatibility with your mail.
Yeah.
Someone is like denying your mail being sent or received from the location.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I wanted to be specific, but I cannot be specific at the moment. So
Well, we look forward to you finding it and then posting it on Discord later so we can all see what the actual list is.
Right. No, yeah, because again, the work computer doesn't have Discord, so yeah, I can't just do it directly.
Well, speaking of work, I should probably have left 5 minutes ago. So I
Okay,
am
see you
here.
later.
shit.
We'll catch you next week then.
Later.
Bye.
Groovy.
I
Oh man, I'm still recording. Bye. I'm still
What?
recording. Everyone's
Okay.
listening to me like having existential crises.
I
I
told
mean,
you.
they
Watch out what you
could.
say about Sean.
You could also cut it out, cut all of it out. You don't have to upload everything you damn record.
No, I'll probably just actually, yeah. Me freaking out about my email can probably go. So,
Yep.